joint practice in Carson, California. Ross Jackson, LouisianaSports.net, and LockedOn Saints. He was there. He's here right now. Yo, man, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Our pleasure. Let's start with how they structured the day.
Yeah, so it was a very team-heavy practice. They kind of went into some individual drills to start things off. Then they went immediately into some team drills, and then kind of used special teams opportunities to take some breaks, did a little bit of punt drill work, a little bit of kick coverage work, and then they kind of centered that in between all of these team drills. And so we saw a lot of team kind of full field, then some team red zone, and they got into some more team sort of, incremental advancement of the football throughout, and then they finished the day with a non-scripted, call it 2-minute drill situation. And so the Saints defense got to see 2 of those kind of call it drives. The Saints offense only saw 1 of those call it drives just because of the way that the time went, and Tyler Shough got that sort of end of game 2-minute drill scenario.
By the way, just to clarify what you mean by call it.
Call it, yeah, thank you, sorry. So call it is actually live play calling happening by the coaches. So you've got Sean McVay calling his offense, going up against Brandon Staley calling his defense, Kellen Moore calling his offense, Chris Shough calling his defense. So getting away from the scripted sort of, we have this plan, we want to work these plays in these situations, and then going more to some game-like situations.
Russ, what's the value of a day like today for New Orleans?
I struggle to come up with a real answer to that question that I believe. If I'm being entirely honest.
That I believe. That's so good.
I could tell you all of the lines that you hear. Oh, they get their opportunity to go up against competition that they don't typically see. They get their chance to see different schemes and things like that. It's lovely. But I don't know how much of it is really worth it when it comes to the risk of a little bit of a less controllable environment. So I can give you the chalk talk, but to be real with you, the value for me when it comes to joint practices always kind of escapes me. Maybe That's a bit of an unpopular opinion, but that's sort of the way that I look at it. So for me, I think that the thing that the Saints were able to take away from today is that they did go up against an unfamiliar defensive scheme, an unfamiliar offensive scheme, so they do get that little bit of growth and that little bit of exposure in a practice environment as opposed to in a preseason environment where guys are flying 150 miles an hour trying to make a team roster. And so I think there is that piece. And then the other thing is put the quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks in this quarterback competition, in an uncomfortable situation going up against things they haven't seen yet.
Okay, that's a good transition. So I was reading your practice report from day 15, your camp report from day 15 from last night here, but yesterday's practice. Mm-hmm. And one of the big takeaways was that Rattler and Shough kind of switched spots. That Tyler Shough was kind of the QB1. You tell me if I'm misinterpreting that. What did they do today as far as the order?
Yeah, today, so what they did was they made sure that both of these quarterbacks got first-team reps as well as second-team reps. And so what they did was they had Spencer Rattler start with the first team, Tyler Shough was with the second team, and then after they kind of reset everything, then Tyler Shough went to the first team and Spencer Rattler went to the second team. And so when it comes down to passing attempts, from what I have charted, Tyler Shough walked away with 2 additional passing attempts, and maybe saw a little bit more, or certainly saw more reps with the first team because he got that 2-minute drive at the end that kind of tipped him over the top. So that's kind of the way that I would look at it. Rattler got the first team nod, but I think Shough actually got more work in with the first team throughout this practice.
Ross Jackson's with us. He's on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola. Who were the standouts today?
Yeah. So I have to go over to the defensive side to start because I think the Saints offense struggled quite a bit, particularly when it came to handling that pass rush of the Los Angeles Rams. And so over on the defensive side, I think 2 of the biggest standouts were Chase Young, who had, I'm pretty comfortable saying, several pressures, and then also had what I would have called 2 pretty sure thing sacks. Now, you still have to make the play at the quarterback, which we've seen the Saints struggle with in the past, but him being there and going up against Jimmy Garoppolo and Stetson Bennett, I think he would have been fine. I think he would have been able to get those guys down on the ground. And so I give him a couple of sacks there. I think that he also had a strong day in pass coverage, which you don't typically expect to talk about when it comes to edge rushers. But because of the nature of this defense, those guys are going to have to drop into coverage in some cases. And so he actually had 3 pass breakups today, Matt. 2 of them in the backfield on sort of swing passes or screen passes, and another one in coverage on a tight end where he knocked the football away. So I thought he had a really, really strong practice. And in Julian Blackmon, I'll highlight as well, at least one pass breakup. I would call it at least a couple passes defense as well. And then he also walked away with an interception on Jimmy Garoppolo. Jordan Howden had an interception as well on what has to be one of the ugliest football throws I've ever seen a pro football quarterback make. I'm telling you, this Stetson Bennett throw, I thought it got tipped. It looked like a really good punt. That's how bad the throw was. But Jordan Howden came up with it, so he's got another interception. Julian Blackmon's now got 3 interceptions in 3 straight days. So I think those guys were the standouts. And I give the quarterbacks a lot of credit managing the amount of pressure that they saw and still finding moments to go out there and make some plays. Spencer Rattler with a deep touchdown to Rashid Shaheed. Tyler Shough with a pair of touchdowns, one to, I believe it was Cedric Wilson in the end zone, one to a receiver in the end zone when it came to a red zone drill, and then another big catch and run touchdown for Mason Gibson.
Any injury updates of note today, Ross?
We still don't see, or still haven't seen Alontae Taylor. That was kind of the big one from today. We just don't really have any gauge on how things are going for him when it comes to this groin injury that he's managing. He's one of the few guys that got hurt during a practice that we haven't seen at least come out and do some side work and things like that. So whatever he's dealing with, it's bothering him enough to kind of keep him off of the field. And some of that might be, too, the Saints saying, you know what more do we need to know about Alontae Taylor? Like, you know what role he's going to play. You know what he's going to do. You know how you're going to utilize him, all those other pieces. So shelf him until the regular season, certainly a way that they could go. But until we see him out on the field, that's going to be a little bit of a question mark as he deals with that groin injury. No other big updates at this point. We know what's going on with Trevor Penning. He's dealing with a toe injury, reported turf toe. Kellen Moore just wants to say toe. So a toe injury there, and we know that's going to keep him out for a few weeks, and we'll see where things go there. But the only other big mystery right now is Jashean Davis, who's been not seen since Friday's practice. He wasn't we didn't catch him at all during the preseason game against the Chargers, pregame or anything like that. And so he's the only one that's kind of a mystery at the moment.
That's a guy I know that you've been pretty high on so far in camp.
Yeah. He's had a strong camp too.
It's missing days like this is difficult for the guys like that trying to earn a job. The Saints did sign defensive end Jeremiah Martin. Russ, my read on that was just this is the end for Isaiah Foskey. Am I reading too much into that?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that's more so just to even out the numbers when you have no Jashean Davis. And so with Jashean Davis not having been around, although to argue against myself, Jashean Davis also hasn't been around since Friday, so they could have done this days ago, right? And so maybe there's that. But I spoke with a couple of folks around Isaiah Foskey, and they talk about a lot of what it is that he does from like the technically sound point and filling his role and all those other things. But man, this is just a guy that lacks flash. And so I would have a hard time. I have a very hard time. He probably won't be on my 53-man roster again going into the next projection after the preseason. And so I wouldn't be super shocked by that. But I think that the Jeremiah Martin thing was more so that they could have the numbers that they need at edge rusher, especially because Fadil Diggs moved up into second-team reps today. And so I think that was maybe a part of just not having sort of that additional guy to help out on the third team.
If you would, before you go, fill us in. So joint practice today with the Rams. Fly home tomorrow. Give us the schedule for the rest of the week leading up to Sunday's preseason game against Jacksonville.
Yeah, they'll travel home tomorrow, and then on Saturday they'll hold a walkthrough. I believe it'll be at the Dome, but I'm not entirely sure. I've asked around, but I haven't gotten an answer on that one yet. But I believe that's going to be at the Dome. That's what they would typically do. Otherwise, it'll be at the training facility. And then, of course, Sunday's preseason game against Jacksonville.
We will preview the preseason game tomorrow, obviously with a lot on the line for these guys trying to earn roster spots. You can read about it all over at LouisianaSports.net, or you can listen or watch him at LockedOn Saints. He is Ross Jackson. Thanks, man.
Thank you, bud. You take care. Stay safe. Talk to you soon.
All right, safe travels heading home. Ross has been out in L.A. for as long as the Saints have, and he'll be heading home, of course, as the team does as well. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.